No one texts me. That's just you going,
We can't be sure of that.
Bitch.
All right. So here we are to talk about episode 10. 10. We've made 10 episodes into iZombie. And
feels like 12.
honestly, and this is something I've started to change my opinion. I really disliked the first 7 episodes. Well, I liked the first one, I think. Or did I hate the first one? I forget. Either way, there was 6 episodes I didn't like.
Yes.
And I've started to change my mind.
Do you think it's just
on
that you have a more positive outlook on life now, and you rosy glasses looking through everything?
No. It's that things are coming to the head. People I don't like are being treated badly. Things are doing whenever there's drama and things, people are dying, people are going to fucking mental institutions. It's getting there.
Is that who you mean, Major? People you don't like are being treated
I hate
badly?
Major, and I for the first time I think in an episode didn't hate Major this episode.
Really?
I didn't hate him this episode. No.
I've not. Okay. Before we get into any details or whatever,
Sure.
What you just alluded to, right? Things are coming so. In my head, because I actually started to think about this, because I still do not like the show very much, but I don't think I ever hated it as much as you did.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
That's impossible for you to hate anything as much as I hate anything.
Well, we did a few of these recaps where I was just like, yeah, for some reason they did this. And the reason is it's bad. The show is bad. Fuck this show. That was your answer for everything. And I was like, oh, he just hates zombies.
You may be thinking of Between.
I
had a similar
It was
attitude.
crossing over.
Yeah.
In the middle, though, of these last 10. I think literally episode 4, 5, and 6. It was why are we doing this? Oh my God.
I wanted to stop.
We should have stopped.
Sucks.
And it's we made an arbitrary commitment to finish this show. No, I've always liked her. I like Ravi, but I don't think he's great in this or whatever. Who are the other characters? I think the cop is fine. I think
he's the worst.
He's fine. He's not great.
It's not him.
Yes.
Not the actor. I don't think the actor is bad.
Right.
I actually really like the actor. I think they're giving him the worst dialogue, and he's written like a childish idiot who doesn't follow police procedure.
Right. So I'm separating what they're given and what they're doing with it. Where her, I almost can't even tell anymore if she's not doing the right stuff, or if they changed it because she wasn't doing well, or
and because brain by brain she's different, so you're is she off this episode? Is it on?
Well, that's what I mean. I'm are things not coming across? Is it written that way? Is she just doing it? Is the director doing I'm not sure what's happening, but I do kind of like her. I just don't know. I don't think she's being given much good stuff. Robbie's probably the one who's the most even as far as what he's given and what he's given me and what's happening. And
except for when he gets bit by the rat.
Sure, yeah. Well, because everything.
He should have been upfront and all right, you're gonna tie me up and blah blah blah. We're gonna check this out.
Yes.
Hour by hour, you'll take samples and see how fast it's happening.
Exactly.
That's what he should have been doing.
Right. So the writing and what they're everything's ridiculous definitely, but then there's certain things that are why are you making this person do this? They you can tell when they when they say the line that they don't want to say it or something like that.
Yeah.
It's this awful thing. But the supporting cast, I was gonna say Major and a few Major and Peyton to some extent, and a few of the bit players, they seem like they're from a different show. They seem like they're from a Disney or a Family Channel.
Yes.
We've got to go do the thing or whatever.
Wrong.
It feels, because I was trying to analyze this, because I'm because Major is different in this, but there's weird conversations and shit, and I was I need to explore my feelings. Why is this?
He seems like a
happening?
character from a Hallmark movie.
Right.
Where you're what are you? Just bad? Why do I know you're acting? Type of thing.
It's a weird, different style of stuff. Because when he talks to Ravi, it's this whole crazy where he's I'm trying to be goofy so that you don't realize how horrible things are and stuff. But then Major's just listen, I have to. I don't know, and doing his thing, and just whatever. But we hated him from the first episode. The way
he was bad. The first episode.
The way the first shot of him was framed was bad. The whole thing has been bad. And again, he's probably a very nice guy who's just trying to do whatever he can in the world.
I actually did a little research on this character. I found out he is actually the great-great-great-great-grandson of Hitler.
Oh, really?
No.
Okay. He's the great. How many greats would I need for this to work? I don't think he's literally Hitler. He's just not.
No, I just don't like him. But again, in this episode, I liked him a little more. I thought him as a character, realizing that like he was a psychologist or whatever, so like he should be able to be a counselor. But I'm sure there's a degree in something.
No,
he's counseling.
I'm agreeing.
And he can recognize like, you know what, I am crazy. This is but the whole thing is like, if you ever think you're crazy, you're supposed to not be crazy. It's like if you're crazy, you're not supposed to be able to rationally detect the things that you're doing that are crazy.
People say that, but I think on a certain level...
That makes sense to me, though.
Yeah, but I think you can be crazy, but also question what what's real or like what's not. You know what I mean?
I guess. Anyway, so in this episode...
Like, the last part of what I was going to say is just, like, these last 2 episodes now, like, I feel like this show just writes itself, right? For
better or worse, yeah.
But it's like a Michael Weston thing. It's like what's that other show? Like whatever the fuck. I didn't watch it. You watched it. True Calling. Then there's like another one with like Ghost Whispering or something.
Yeah.
And there's another thing.
Ghost Whisperer.
There's all these fucking shows. And like every episode, you pick a new dead person. You pick a combination of personality traits and weird shit. You have like a thing where like the first vision, this bitch is angry at like you, and then you're like, what's going on? I was looking in the mirror or some weird fucking thing, like just some dumb like fucking build it out and give her weird personality traits, give her weird skills. Right? She's stealing stuff. She's doing stuff. She's like a sniper. Whatever the fuck. Every episode just like roll some dice and figure it out, and then just have that be the thing, right? Mm-hmm. And then it's like, well, we need like a B story or like an overarching story. So let's make some other zombie who's doing some other stuff, but not the way she's doing it. He's bad, and he'll be like the bad zombie.
Yeah.
And have this whole thing going. It's fine. But as we mentioned earlier, a bunch of episodes were very focused on like the case.
Yes.
And then I don't know why or if I like it or hate it. Like it's better, I guess. But I kind of wanted a show where you got like a talented young lady and she got to act different in every episode. And that caused problems, right? Because she can't tell people.
Changed.
Yeah.
Yeah, the format did seem like it was going to be a cop show where the cop is a zombie with special skills that pertain to the case itself.
It's a buddy cop thing, but the one, like in so many things, the one part of the buddy is like, well, he's a wizard or some fucking shit, and then and they're gonna go on cases, and he's like, it's a golem. What's that? Nothing. Let's go. I don't know. Fucking like it's like it writes itself. Just do it. But they've stopped.
It stopped doing that,
yes.
and they barely achieve anything from like as far as skills anymore. Like she became an alcoholic this round. All right, you're a skill is you're alcoholic.
Well, and like I'm not even saying that they were doing it very well, but now that they're barely like phoning in the fact that they're doing it, it's just this weird diversion in the episode that's not even there.
Yes.
Like, I don't know. I'm like,
well, because you have to do one or the other. So either you're only focusing on the plot, which is what they've kind of been doing now. But if they would have never done the original thing where they didn't have a plot, it would have been acceptable. So it's one or the other. You can't have your bed. You can't have your bed and eat it too. You can't have your cake.
You can't
and eat it too.
lie in your cake and eat your bed.
You lied in that cake. Now you make it.
Because now it's just this weird like distraction, and they're focused on this soap opera of like these characters and what's happening, and tell them, don't tell them, whatever the fuck. But so again, like my notes, I have like 2 bullets about the fucking actual case.
The case is irrelevant, except for the fact that it does play into the actual plot.
Well, okay. But it does, but it doesn't in this like ridiculous way.
So let's get into the meat and potatoes here. So we pick up right after what was his name? Liam?
Lowell.
Lowell is dead now, like I thought.
He's really dead.
He's actually dead. I knew he was dead.
But he's not only dead. Like, do they even show his face as a corpse?
No, he's out of the show.
He fucking pieced out. I don't even know what happened. He's like, they didn't even ask him to like do pickups lying on a table with her like not even in the shot. Like that's crazy to me. He's like,
shot in the face.
He's like, I'm not picking up. I'm not. Well, he was shot in the face. I guess they did, so they didn't want to show it. I guess that that explains it. To me, it felt like that actor was like, nope, I'm not putting on any makeup. I'm fucking out. I'm done. Your contract's at this many episodes. I'm leaving, or something weird like that.
I didn't take it that way. I took it the way where they're like, we don't actually need to pay him. We could just have a stand-in and sit in this fucking thing, right?
Yeah. And if he was shot in the face, then there's no reason to show his face because he was shot in the face.
It was probably the forehead, but
it'd be like
still
gross or whatever. Yeah.
So he's dead. Picks up
and Liv's being questioned by the.
Because she ran over there immediately, but the cops got called because they heard loud commotions and then death.
Yeah, and that's all off camera. Where you just told what happened with some dialogue that gets dropped in.
I'm not even 100% sure you would be able to hear them yelling, let alone even the gunshot, because they're outside on a terrace of like a city street, like.
No, and they said like neighbors heard whatever's, but like Lowell's like a rich artist guy, and they do shit there all the time. I don't know why anyone would. Whatever.
It doesn't matter.
That's fine.
So she's being questioned. Ravi comes out and he sees
All right.
that, and then he finds out about Major, and he runs off to go check him out.
Well, and Detective Detective
Babano?
Babadook. Yeah, I like the Babadook part though. But he was he's like, we should, you should go talk to Major. He's like crazy and shit. He called me up, said he killed someone, but he didn't, and he's shooting his gun or something like that, like whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, and like they want to go talk to him. Captain Suzuki comes in, and they're like covering up this like death.
Yeah, he says he has
Basically.
gunshot residue on his hands. It was a suicide.
And this is all going back to him being in like Blaine's pocket.
And they said it was
And,
2 shots, right?
I don't know.
I thought I heard 2 shots, and
Yeah.
I was like, oh. And then I'm like, okay, that makes sense, because the first shot, he shot him in the face. Second shot, he put the gun in his hand and like shot it in the air or something.
Oh, geez, okay. Huh.
Or there was no gunshot residue at all, and he relied solely on the ability of a chief to say, there was gunshot residue. I'm like, and be fine with it.
I guess. But like Blaine's not even in the picture. He like left as Liv showed up, and then
Yeah.
like whatever the fuck.
Well, it's to
Yeah.
get all the way to the bottom and to get across, you just have to get a bottom, and it
No, I'm
makes sense.
saying it's all good. But no one knows about Blaine except the Captain Suzuki, who's like in the fucking pocket of him and covering
Yeah.
up the thing. Major though, talking about his like experience, does say his eyes turned bright red or something like
Yeah, he
that.
did see that,
And I
and
was
he
like, oh,
mentioned he
shit.
shot him 3 times in the chest, so it wasn't a headshot. We
Okay.
were wrong there.
But he did. We were wondering if he actually saw the eyes or if it was just like a thing or something
Yeah.
like that. So Major, rightfully so, is fucking like would think he's going crazy based on what he'd seen and what the fuck is happening or whatever the
What
fuck.
causes that?
Oh god, don't remind me of things that were said. The dead person in this episode is the reporter that Major was working with when he did the
About the
expose
teens,
about
yeah.
the police corruption and like ignoring the things or whatever. That's why I got beat up in that lockup cell or whatever the fuck.
Exactly.
And here immediately, like they say, well, in my head, like I was like, well, I would naturally assume that like a dirty cop killed her because she's doing stuff against the cops or something like that. But no one like suspects that or talks
Well,
about
and they
that. or
spin
does
that
anything.
appropriately, where it's a rich kid, and this is a suspect in this case, and like it's like, oh yeah, well I guess he'd have the means to either hire a hitman or the knowledge to get her thumbprint and get his thing
Yeah.
back, or things to lose.
Well, so once they drill into it, yeah, they're talking about this fucking like debate team rich kid thing.
Mhm.
I could not tune into that. This was like another one where they were like, now we're interviewing this guy. He was the other guy that this guy was doing this with, and like this girl is his girl, but she was there before and not his girl. And all these things, and I'm like, why are we doing this? Stop this! Just what the fuck? Oh.
I had a feeling early on, because they say when later in a minute the guy comes up to me and goes, "Oh, I was her informant for that case," and first I was like, "Who the fuck is he? Was he one of the college kids?" and I didn't. I was like,
yeah.
"Did we know this kid before?" But then like when he said like other. And like she found that guy. I'm like, oh, I found you so quick. You don't think they could find you? I'm like, maybe there was no other informant, and this was a trick to get you. And then it was, and I was like, I knew it.
Yeah, I wasn't even in like see this coming mode or whatever the fuck at that point. I was just like, fine. There's all these characters. Then I'm like, and she's the secretary from the place and the Pilates now though. We're getting ahead of everything.
Well, that was just
Yeah.
the part to find him. But what telegraphed the punch, so to speak, was he sent her some Max Rager and at the bar, and I was like, I real quick, I was like, would he do that to say like I'm blah blah blah? Like why would you send that? It's such a weird thing to send. And then I was like, because he works for them. He's increasing the sale.
He said he was the informant for the whole thing
Yes.
of them, so I thought he was sending it to her as a signal. And if she drank it, that would mean that he has the wrong person, right, or some goofy
Maybe.
shit like that. That's how I took that. That part I was fine with, but his like inevitable and like whatever betrayal. Real quick, so
Sure.
Clive goes to question Julian at like the gym.
Yes.
And he reveals what Major's full name is, I think, for the first time.
Yeah. What is it?
Did you catch that?
No, is it Major Cock?
Major Lillywhite.
Major Lillywhite.
Remember when I said several times I've thought about rewinding the show and like making sure that I caught something. I literally backed it up. I paused it and took a picture with my phone of the subtitles saying, "Yeah, Major Lillywhite. His name is Major Lillywhite. She would have been Liv Lillywhite if they had gotten married." And his name is like, that's like your name being Total Puss. That's like
Yeah.
so funny. That's like horrible. And at that moment, and I'm like, I'm like connecting from the earlier intro part where like now I'm not sure if this show is actually just taking the piss, if they're just having fun.
Well, it was based off a comic book that I think was like a comedy comic book, like a joke.
There you go. Because I've not been taking this like a joke. I've not been taking it seriously. But that might be why nothing is serious. Because they like it might just be that like this is meant to be like silly and dumb, but it's not like clicking with me. And it's not bad. It's just not like working for me or something like that.
Yeah.
So I feel this weird sense of like, have I missed the point? Are we like, why would he say this and do that? And it's like, well, because it's all just this dumb thing.
I think it was meant to be like an action comedy thing, but it's not really hitting either point.
Enough to be like, okay, you can enjoy this even if you don't enjoy that or whatever.
Yeah.
Because it's not funny enough to be like an Ash versus Evil Dead. Like it's not like silly enough in what happens, right?
I would have just to get back to the show to play my cop role and just for my due diligence, I would have been like, would you mind lifting your shirt, sir?
I know.
Because he could have had a bulletproof vest on. He could have been shot. There could be bruises there. Who knows?
No, yeah, we're still there. So he questions him, and that guy just like, oh, yeah, he's my stalker, blah, blah, blah. He's been broken my car. And, yeah, I literally, like, expected him to say, can you lift up your shirt and have it escalate or whatever? But the detective just goes like, okay, sorry, and, like,
because that would have been a great moment right there. To change this whole thing and to make like him believe in Major and like flip this all around, and then like if independently what happens to Major later on still happened, you'd have now a cop and Major like, all right, we got to do this and that, whatever. Like that should have been a thing. Like he should have ran, like,
or he should have like refused and then been like, that's a search. What are you doing? Listen, get out of here, or whatever. And
it's leg day. My abs aren't looking their best. Maybe tomorrow.
And then the cop could have like tried to see him like go in and like getting changed or something like that, and like barely miss it and go like, what is that? Or maybe he could have lifted it, but he's used like makeup to like cover the like bullet holes or whatever. Like there could have been all these different things he could have done with that.
They didn't do.
But he just was like, he like rubs his face and goes like, all right, sorry, and like leaves or something like that.
What are those? I got a birthmark. Those are my 6 nipples.
I was born not like a cow, a pig, a marmoset. Robbie wants to agree to say that Lowell's death is a suicide.
Yes,
because it will,
which is the smarter way to do it. Because going on public record to say things that are unprovable and not real, not smart.
And like characteristically here, because at the top of the episode you said like it was very uncharacteristic how he reacted to when he thought he got bit by the rat and was like infected.
Yes.
He's very characteristically saying like that body's a like biohazard. We can destroy it if we say it's a suicide. Otherwise it's going to be like this mess and we got to contain that, whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, like this actually does make sense on some level. It's good when things make sense.
So going further,
Major wants to go to a mental institution,
which makes sense. Again, going characteristically for what a person should do if you're in that position. I think that hearing what his friend / cop tells him and knowing like there is no evidence for what I'm saying. Maybe I am crazy. It's not out of the realm of possibility to check yourself into a facility voluntarily just for a few days. Get yourself like am I doing this? Do I really remember that? Like
Yeah.
So I actually liked that. I thought that was the only thing that made sense.
I don't hate it. I think in a lot of shows and like a lot of things, because like on some shows someone's supposed to be like the skeptic, even though they are literally shown tangible proof that the thing's happening and they still are the skeptic.
Like somehow
and like
Scully
vice versa.
at the end of the X-Files still going, Mulder, I don't know if I'm like, you've personally seen aliens multiple times.
Yes.
Are they wiping your brain between episodes?
And if it's like, well, this happened or whatever, and then it's like werewolves, don't be ridiculous, and you're like, well, who's to say maybe there's not
Leech
also
monsters, but there can't be werewolves.
Yeah, right. She had literal like proof, and she was attacked by like the dude in the wall who was like making a nest and all that shit, right? And it's like, I think after that you should just be like, okay, Scully, tell me more. What have you heard about this?
The monster, like
I'm
in the
worried.
nuclear radiator thing.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many things. You should believe everything.
But I like when a character behaves in like a natural, or like does this sort of check yourself thing or something like that.
Yes.
Because vice versa, there's shows where the one person believes no matter what, and then it turns out to be a hoax, and then they're like, well, and then like, well, I'm the guy that's supposed to believe stuff, so I'm gonna say I don't know or something like that, and you're like, no, literally, we pulled off the mask. It was not a thing this time. You should be like, well, maybe I'm wrong to believe all this, but wants to check himself in. He can only afford a certain amount of time. Robbie's like, we
He
have
has
to
no
tell
job,
him.
no insurance. So
Yeah. Robbie's like, we have to tell him about everything because he thinks he's crazy.
Well, and Liv is like, well, that just means he'll be safe for a few days. We won't tell him shit.
So when she delivered that little like monologue piece there, she used a tone of voice that like triggers me, that she's used a few times when she says stuff that I don't even know is realistic or not or something like that. But she was like, what did she say? He's been breaking into cars and going around town and shooting people because he thinks that he's killing people. What is he going to do when he finds out that he's eating people or whatever the fuck?
Yeah.
And I'd be like, I don't know. I think you should talk about that too when you talk to him. But maybe she's right and he would be safe in there. I don't see how that's a thing.
I think especially if she's planning something, because she's going for something. She doesn't want any of her anyone that could be a casualty of war on the table. And I
she
think
can't
I think
protect
it's
him,
smart.
right?
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Because she's not Miss Soldier anymore. She can barely protect herself. I wonder if she saved any sniper brain.
That's what we've been saying from like the very start.
Yeah,
she should
but
have a bunch of these little brains or whatever.
She doesn't, because she's a bitch.
So the main case here revolves around Max Rager.
Yeah, so we found out that the person that killed this reporter was Max Rager because they wanted the evidence of the violent reports, stifled. A murderer is hired to contact her and tell her that she is that he's her contact, and there's another contact out there, and so Liv finds that contact, and now Liv and that contact are both knuckle buster punched like in the face.
Yeah, it was interesting because he's like, "Hey, like, how are you doing?" And he clearly has brass knuckles on display or whatever, and I'm like, "Okay, interesting."
And nowadays, that could be a 4-finger ring.
At first, I thought he was just wearing something like that, but then it was clear that it was brass knuckles or whatever. You don't see many brass knuckles anymore.
I'll show you some later.
I don't see many brass knuckles on shows anymore, I'm saying.
It's true.
It's not like a thing. It was more of a thing in like the late 80s, early 90s.
Brass knuckles are not a really good tool.
You would think, right?
Well, no, they're not because I don't know how many people you've punched.
No.
When you're punching somebody, you're aiming for with these knuckles. When you're putting your brass knuckles on, it's on the lower part of your hand. It changes your form of punch, and it's I find they're not as effective as you would think.
Well, I feel like just having your fingers separated in these like fixed rings is weird, and it's not a good way to punch in the first place. It just seems like a bad idea.
Yeah, just use a knife.
Just stab them. Brass.
But he punches her square in the forehead, like he's like, "Punch!" Like that would have like been wonderful for a human.
Yeah. Well, he even makes a comment like, "Oh, you're awake, crazy, or whatever." So he gets to be like extremely crazy now on this boat.
And I liked where he went.
Okay,
I think he's gonna go so much more.
Well, because there's a little like bullet at the end, but he throws the other bitch off, the informant bitch,
with one cinder block.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but whatever.
Cinder blocks, to the best of my knowledge, if you like put them in the water, they eventually just turn to nothing.
That's true too.
So I think that's like for a contract killer. He's
It's
already
like
super
whatever.
below, yeah.
Yeah. Well, the cinder block's just made out of foam anyway, because when Liv zombies out, she spins it around and smacks him and all that stuff. Then she no, so like I actually liked it too, I guess. I don't know how I feel. I don't know. I like it on paper. I don't know if I enjoyed what watching it or something like that. But I like when someone's a crazy person killer and they talk to themselves, and when it like cuts away and cuts back and he's like laying down next to her waiting for her to wake up again and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I like shit like that in general in
No,
movies
I like that.
shows.
The thing that I did hate, so like there's a token like he touches the blood and then licks it. So like that, you knew he was going to survive just because of that. But they did the movie sin, the TV show sin that happens in everything. It's like the T-Rex attacks you, the car hits you, the shark like bites you and drags you around. But then when they find the body, they're not missing any parts. They're not like anything. It's scratches. You're like, in what world does a T-Rex attack you when you have mild scratches on your body?
Yep.
It doesn't make any sense. He's attacking you with his fucking mouth.
And like a 3-headed great white shark, for example, or whatever, and you just have like you would be like cut in half. You would be like whatever the fuck. You wouldn't be like
when it's somehow
scratches somehow. Yeah.
There's always that thing where in the water it grabs you by your leg and you're thrashed like above the surface like this, and then like somehow you get free and it's like, how did it get what? You have like a small bite on the side of your ribs. How the fuck? What?
Yeah, like how was it doing it? I know. Because she like turns on the boat and just does a little like
She does
a donut and just like and you hear him there's blood in the water and like, I'm like, oh, the engine fucked him up. He's like ground chuck now. He's like dead or whatever the fuck.
The propeller should have, at the very least, for a boat that size, chopped him pretty fucking good. But he has like a couple scratches across his face when he emerges from the water at night as a zombie.
I was gonna say, so the very last shot of the episode is he, washes up on the shore and, he's like a zombie now. Right?
I thought that was obvious, so I didn't wait to reel that at the end.
No, that's fine. But that happened. I don't know where they're gonna go with that. I guess he would still have his personality, and he's a crazy motherfucker.
No, now you're gonna have a cool crazy zombie that maybe either rivals Blaine or works for him or.
I hope the next couple episodes just focus on that shit, and the cases are barely even like a factor.
I think that'll be
which seems to be the direction. But no, like I'm more interested now going into the future episodes because of what's happened with Blaine, with Lowell, and her, and now she wants to kill him.
And now
so
Major,
got, like potential.
Major's at the fucking psych ward, and he tells his experience as you do at these things. The meeting convenes. He walks away, and some guy's like, "I know what you're dealing with." And he goes, "Oh, thanks, buddy." Blah blah blah. He goes, "The red eyes," and he's like,
I mean, literally.
Because he hadn't said the red eyes, and that guy said red eyes. So Major perks up. He goes, "It's zombies." I was there, and like he didn't say where, but I'm assuming he was on the boat.
Yeah. Yeah, Scott E. I wrote down his name because he made a big deal out of it.
Thanks, Scotty. No, it's Scott E. They're two separate words.
Like Scott as in Scott and E as in E. No, but so I don't know what I didn't catch the reference to where he was or whatever, but much earlier in the episode I made my note on the bottom for like the just in case I miss it. Live literally, because I think like in episode 2 or like as soon as Max Rager came up, we were like maybe like Max Rager sponsored the boat party the way like Red Bull sponsors things or whatever. Like I guess, but they literally spelled it out. The boat party was sponsored by Max Rager.
Yeah,
everybody went crazy at the fucking Lake Washington. Blah 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 blah. Because the reporter had like a list of like times Max Rager she thinks has caused incidences or whatever the fuck. Ryan Lowell's death was a suicide. Liv wants to kill Blaine, and this time she's not going to be afraid to pull the trigger.
This time it's personal,
unlike last time when it was personal.
Yeah. Now she'll I think she'll actually try, and maybe at the end, the last episode, she may succeed.
I really don't know. I don't know. I know there's a second season. We almost made it a whole episode without mentioning the second season. I'm not sure if we're gonna watch it. We'll figure that out when we get there.
Just guess here.
Yeah.
So like, Blaine could be killed end of this season, and like the troubles are over. But like Max Rager is like the enemy corporate whatever for the whole next season, or like maybe she thinks she does a death blow to them at the end of the season, but really like they're still around and they're coming for her, or it's rebranded or some bullshit.
Yeah, I really don't know what they could do or what could happen.
How do you fight a corporation? You can't.
And Blaine is like, as the villain, Blaine has an operation where he's created a bunch of other zombies.
Yes.
So like killing Blaine produces this immediate problem for all these other people that he's supplying with brains and did all that stuff. I think we're gonna have a weird thing in like a warehouse where like the one lady and like all the thugs, including Julian and Captain Suzuki and everyone are all somehow there, so they can all be like dealt with or some weird shit. It's gonna be or they'll just ignore it and be like, it was fine. But like I feel like
if she
it's a weird situation.
I don't even know if it works this way, but my thought would be if she killed Blaine and ate his brain, she could potentially know all of his clients and then has them calls them all like, we need to discuss payments or something, and like brings them all to like one place or something and then burns it down. I don't know.
Okay.
That's like what would happen on like True Blood or something.
Well, no, but depending on how all that so like I was gonna be like, I like where you're going with this, but I don't know what she'll do with that. But that's an excellent idea if she can eat his brain and somehow use some information that he has to do something.
Or he probably has just phone records or anything, because they're calling the restaurant to place their orders.
It's all under the guise of like a real business, and they also like give you noodles and shit with it or whatever the fuck. I don't know. The world that they've set up and the situation that they have here, and like who knows what and what's happening, I'm really not clear as to the resolution or what killing Blaine could like. It feels weird.
No, it'll be interesting because when you kill Blaine, you just set free all these murderers who will like be killed. Who knows? Who knows how much brain like one person's death may feed 6 zombies, like in chopped up, put into noodles and stuff like that.
Right.
While if you let them out on their own, they're each killing a different person. And
we don't know how often they have to eat, or like maybe they just won't eat and they'll become crazy. I don't know.
That would be my guess for most of them.
This show doesn't seem up for that. Season 2 is like Liv and whoever else. Now Major knows, and they're out like fighting the zombies that Blaine left behind.
Season 2, Blaine is dead, and the zombies start a plague, and now there's like zombies all across the world.
And now the show is Fear the Walking Dead.
Yeah.
That'd be horrible.
Except it's more like what's the one with 10K? What's
Z Nation.
It's more like Z Nation because you'll have the one zombie on their side.
This show's not up for that though. I don't think.
No, that was a false prediction.
That was a fun prediction.
Anything else happen?
That would be amazing though if it turned into like a Mad Max crazy future world.
It won't
I don't
happen,
think they'll do that though.
No, it won't happen.
They're far too invested in like the soap opera of the whole thing.
Of course, and that's a gimme. It's not going to ever turn anything like that. It's going to be a drama comedy hour forever.
Okay, we'll save predictions for the actual season finale.
Makes sense.
This is just a little diversionary
Pre-teaser.
thing. But this episode's over. We've covered what happens at the end.
Yeah. All right, guys. So that was episode 10. We've got 3 episodes left.
Yeah.
Join us on that trip, and we'll see you again next week. Until then, don't die in a fire.